Hello, everyone. Welcome to another American Scouser Podcast, the Thursday edition. I am your host this week on Thursday, Timucin, as always, from Chicago. And with us is our Thursday normal crew, but we've been rotating quite a bit with schedules, Scott traveling and all that kind of stuff. So let's start with who we have first. Scott is with us. Scott, what's happening, man?
Hey, nothing much. Like you said, I'm back from all my mini vacations and ready to roll on another good Thursday pod with you guys.
Yeah, you got to take those vacations, man. You got to take those vacations. And Jamie is with us as always. Jamie, what's happening?
Excellent, lads. I mean, not as good as Scott over there vacationing away, going to Charlotte games left, right, and center. I mean, I'm just glad to have him back.
I missed you too, Jamie.
We did talk a lot about Jamie. I think, was that the Monday pause that we were talking about your ingenuity? Using the darts as a nail to hang banners on and stuff like that. But so we got a lot to get to. Obviously, Champions League game. There's a lot happening in the news and over the last couple of days with games and stuff like that. So we'll get to all that. But as always, let's start with Jamie's 60 seconds, the Liverpool news in 60 seconds, and Jamie, and go.
That's right, Reds. It's that time again. Get the stopwatches out, and we're off. So it's been 6 months on since that breaking day on the Annie Road end, the redevelopment, and things are really taking off. When it's finished, we're eventually going to raise the capacity to 61,000. That's fantastic. Also, news today, great new fresh content out from Liverpool.com and with Corn. They've released today great alternative commentary on the United demolition, the 5-0 game. Verge and Ibu are giving their commentary. And let's just be honest, let's hope the lads don't give up their day job anytime soon. Moving on, more news today, fresh off the press, that Liverpool, Everton and Tranmere are joining forces for a fantastic cause to tackle knife crime with the Blade Free campaign. Of course, we all remember last year, young Ava White lost her life at 12 years of age. Absolutely horrible. More news today. I mean, it's been a busy day, really. The top 10 player name shirt sales have been released for the 21-22 season so far. So we'll go quickly. 10, Robbo. 9, Bobby. 8, Sadio. 7, Thiago. 6, AB1. 5, Diogo. 4, Hendo. 3, Trent. 2, Verge. And, of course, Mo, number 1. But lastly, folks, those who tuned in last week will remember, with the help of our very own American Scouser, Megan, our producer extraordinaire, she's been over there for, 3 months now? Seems like it anyway. But she broke the news that Missy Bo Kearns was injured. She actually got the meter, went down and watched that game where she was missing. But she's back training, and that's great news. I'm sure Megan will be delighted to hear that. But you can also catch up with all the great content on the LFC games and the women's team at AmericanScouser.com. We're never going to stop.
Nice. Thank you for that. And now let's actually talk about some other general news first. Before we go to the Inter game, I figured we kind of knock a few of these out of the way. Obviously, the biggest news that came out today with all the stuff that was already going on, I guess, with everything going on in Russia and Ukraine and stuff, with the Chelsea owner kind of stepping away and all that kind of stuff. And now today the news comes out that they're kind of on a frozen state, can't sell tickets, can't sell merch or anything like that. Obviously, there's a lot of different things to it in terms of first it was they can't even be sold. And I saw that actually they can be sold and all that kind of stuff. Jamie, what do you make of all this?
What a way to wake up. It was mad. I knew something was coming, but I mean, nobody could have guessed that. I mean, the government stepping in and we'll keep things strictly football related. As much as I hate to see any sort of club get in financial trouble and all the rest of it, you can't help but think that it's off their own doing, and not that they deserve it, but certainly any repercussions they will deserve.
Yeah, I mean, for them, it has to be kind of you take the bad with the good. That's money being flushed in all this time to kind of like get them some of those trophies obviously was coming from somewhere, and it's kind of like backfiring now. But Scott, what's your take on the whole ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, you start from being this club that can get infinite loans and infinite money being flushed into a system and an organization to, from what appears on face value, fairly strict reprimands. I think that like we said, we hate it for the fans that maybe are affected on these sort of situations, but as a club and as an organization, from the get-go of when Roman Abramovich first bought this club, we knew where that money was coming from. It's no secret what type of person he is and what his background is and his affiliations with at least some sort of political influence in Russia. So the fact that fairly sternly England and the Premier League have put down these sort of reprimands shows that they are taking a stand and really trying to support Ukraine in whatever means necessary. And by this means, it means the financial and the social aspect of trying to make a real statement.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, it's going to be interesting because obviously we do not know how long this whole, the Russia-Ukraine thing will take. So if it goes on into summer, it's going to affect them signing players. I mean, God knows they got enough people away on loan that they can call back and like make up a couple of like squads. But obviously it does affect them big time, and it will affect the overall scheme of things because obviously they're like a big spender normally. So it does take, while we have some new people in there like Newcastle and stuff like that who will be willing to spend some big money, it will take one of those big buyers like out of the scene. Speaking of big buyers, especially when you mention waking up to news, I mean, I slept like a baby last night after seeing Neymar get eliminated from the Champions League once. Like literally, just
did not sleep like a baby.
And I wake up this morning to rumors about them fighting in the locker room and stuff. Just what a great way to wake up. What do you make of that mess? How they spurs that one out? I don't know if the Pochettino connection or what, but what do you say, Jamie?
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell an old man story here. I'm getting older. I'm getting into the old man bracket now. I didn't sleep like a baby last night. You don't know old man
bracket, buddy. Anyway, go
ahead. I didn't get great sleep last night because there was a bunch of college kids around the back of my neighborhood throwing a party, and I had to go out there with my trousers pulled on halfway and bare chested and shout. I was like, "Oi, shut the fuck up!" Excuse my French. But you're old when you're breaking up parties. You know what I mean? Like, so a way to wake up. I mean, I didn't. Let's just say I'm a little on edge still.
Honestly, though, like Scott, you watched that. I don't know if you watched the game at all.
I did.
And you watch the game, and they make a great FIFA team. And I know every time I play freaking FIFA, I play against Paris Saint-Germain for some reason. But you watch them on the field with all the quality they have. The three up top play like douchey FIFA club players who just stay up front and they want the ball once we win it in the back or whatever, or midfield, and they don't track back. So it's kind of easier to attack against them. I mean, I started watching the game wanting Real to win. Well, first of all, it was against Neymar, so that's like by default. It could be anybody, and I would root for the other team. But not only that, I figured, PSG would be a tougher matchup. They got a lot of weapons. They're pretty deep, like one or two injuries during the season. And it's like a team that's guaranteed the title, so they can rest people for like 3 weeks if they wanted to, like send them on a vacation for a month and have them come back for Champions League games and stuff. But as I watched the game more and more, I was like, man, they're so vulnerable back there just because looks like they're defending with like 6-7 guys and that's it.
Yeah. I watched the game in a purely selfish manner, and that was looking at both teams and saying, who would Liverpool rather play?
Love it. I love that.
And the fact was, I would have taken either of them because Real Madrid didn't necessarily play that great. But boy, PSG are so bad in the back, and just their system, they have no shape. And like you said, FIFA, it's almost as if you take every fanboy across the world and had them make a magic, superpower team, and that's what PSG did. But in reality, the players that go unnoticed for their work ethic and for their organization and for their tactical nuance weren't there. They're not in the team. They have super fast defenders that don't know how to play in a system. They have great midfielders that can hold the ball, but apparently have nobody to support them when they go in behind. And they have strikers that don't want to play with each other. So what do you get? You get a 2-goal deficit, a 2-goal lead, and then you lose 3-2 on the two legs.
And I think that was the thing. I mean, Darren says they're the biggest ballers out there. Backline was about as tough as a wet bog roll. And, honestly,
there's 11 bottles of Evian water out there. That's all they were.
I mean, like Marquinhos had like a game to forget. But aside from that, it's kind of hard to blame that defense because they get absolutely no help from the front at all. Like Messi's walking around, scouting the field so he can get a ball. And I think they really misuse him, first of all. Neymar is Neymar. He's out there trying to make moves and stuff like that, and that's about it. And Mbappe is basically their main weapon, and that was the whole system was, but you can't have 3 guys waiting for the ball on the counter. You have 1 outlet, and everybody else should be ideally helping the defense. But, yeah, I mean, the way they kind of like totally collapsed. And by the way, while we're talking about this, can we talk about how freaking disgusting media is when they literally spent 60 minutes just praising Paris Saint-Germain, like nonstop. They were, nobody could beat him. They're so experienced. They were like, with Messi and Neymar out there, they should be able to easily close out any game and stuff. Obviously not watching Messi in Anfield and, not being able to close out a 3-0 lead. But, it was just like, what the hell? And then in the 75th, 80th minute, it was just like the other way around. Real could do no wrong. PSG had so many weaknesses. And I'm like, man, you guys.
Yep. The media is just fair weather. I mean, they just go with the flow. And can we think of the one thing that PSG needed? They needed structure and some good strength in the midfield to hold the ball and to slow it down.
I know.
Do you know? Do you know? Because I think we know who probably they needed, which is on their team, but not on their squad for the Champions League. They would have loved a good Ginny performance, wouldn't they?
Yeah. It's criminal. It's criminal what they've done to that man.
So Darren brings up this point. I was actually asking this on our Discord channel earlier today. So do they fire him knowing, I mean, their season is pretty much over. I mean, usually by this time, their season is always over. They usually have won the French league by now, and then they get eliminated from Champions League. So it's just like cruise the rest of the way, like meaningless games. But do they fire him knowing like United kind of want him, or do they just kind of hold on to him to see if they can get something out of United for him, Jamie?
Well, so you're asking what they're going to do. What they're going to do is stupidity. What they're going to do is fire him, probably pay him out, and then United are going to hire him. What they should do is hold on to him, hold him in that absolute bottling company that they've now become, and let eventually United come to them. But I mean, they're so lax and so nonchalant with they're so French with their money. I mean, they don't give a, I don't get it. Messi underperforming, Mbappe's off to Madrid. The whole rigmarole was, oh, well, Mbappe's finally scored at the Bernabeu. And that's what he's going to be doing all next season, apparently. So, good luck to them, man. Like the other oligarch that we talked about earlier, I think they're, my wife and I were talking about it late in bed. I mean, she really needed to go to sleep last night after them kids were partying. So I figured I'd bore her talking about Chelsea and Abramovich and how money's ruined football. See what I mean? I am an old man. I'm just nonstop complaining.
Man, you have become an old man yelling at the clouds. But yeah, I mean, honestly,
you know what I mean? They're so lax with their money. They're so lax with everything. It's like, but it's eventually going to come back and bite them. So yeah, Poch is definitely gone, right?
I would think so. I mean, there's only one thing to win there. It's kind of like a tough job too, to be honest with you, because it's more about man
Looking
management
good.
than
It's
technical.
more about looking good than football. That's what it is.
And that's the thing. It's almost like you're already gonna win the French league unless you really screw it up, which he did last year or the year before, whatever it was. And he managed that, which is really tricky to do over there. But then, I mean, aside from that, it's like you only have one thing to go for. And I think when your league is not as competitive, there's a reason why at one point Italian teams were dominating the European, cups and stuff like that, because their league was tougher, the quality was better. And now you kind of see the Premier League teams doing that. And that's because it's not that easy to turn on and off that switch being able to get used to that physical football going 100%. So when you're kind of like playing against like 10-year-olds on the weekend, and then you come across over here in the Champions League and you play against like the big boys, it's kind of like a totally different story. So, but I just know it was a beautiful Wednesday. I just truly enjoyed the Neymar misery. I was really hoping some zoom ins while he's crying and stuff, but I guess we couldn't. So when I got up in the morning and saw like the locker room fights and stuff, I'm like,
that's good enough.
Yeah, consolation prize. That I'll take it. But he'll go back to his parties and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure. So let's go to Tuesday, which not as smiling and not as happy watching that game. So let's start with the lineup first, Jamie. Not a lot of surprises overall, I think. When we were talking about on Monday, we kind of guessed that, Diaz will be the one rested just because of the minutes he put in and stuff. I think the biggest shocker, we know the back line. So walk me through that midfield and make sense of it.
I'd love to be able to walk. I'd love to be able to walk through that midfield, but I don't think I could. I think Fabinho would take me out early doors. Thiago, Fabinho, great pedigree for Champions League football. It seems to be the running joke this season. The terminology is great opportunity for ... right? Jones today, you could have easily put anybody else in there as well, and given them a shot too. But we all love Jones. We all love his intrepid endeavors. He loves to get himself into a bit of trouble and try to do the Thiago and get out of it with a quick little side foot pass or something. But inevitably, I think he's going to be one of those players who learns more from his mistakes and grows and becomes better and better and better, as opposed to somebody like Harvey Elliott, who's on the back of my shirt, but also his ceiling's sky high immediately, like it's 0 to 100 in 1 second, with him. But yeah, the midfield, I thought, to wrap it up, not bad,
Honestly, I was shocked to see Thiago over there because I did not think he would be risked, especially against an Italian team not being 100% and stuff like that in a game where we necessarily did not need him. He was in a situation where we had to open up a defense or score or anything like that necessarily. But it felt like him and Jones are not a good combo to have over there. Fab is your constant, but it's just not a good duo to work together. And even Klopp said it, because I was kind of like saying it the entire, when we were talking on the Discord channel, doing like live fan chats, I was kind of the constant saying, man, our press is not getting there. Like they were always able to get out. And even Klopp was saying after the match that, especially the first 20, 25 minutes, he thought that Connor, pressing was really not what it should be. What do you
put that? Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Like, what do you put that down to?
I put that down to Jones and Thiago not being the ultimate duo over there personally.
I will definitely say that I think I do think that Jones is kind of beginning to mold his style of play to Thiago's style. I think he's learning a lot from playing with him in practice every day. I do think that there needs to be a happy medium of the two midfielders ahead of Fabinho as one that is more determined to be a creator and one determined to more be a workhorse. And I think that we've seen a lot of actual good chemistry when Thiago and Naby have played together. And I also think that we've seen Naby also come in with Hendo, and then Hendo's the workhorse, and then Keita gets to be a little bit more free forming with his play and stuff like. I just think that maybe Thiago is waiting for Jones to do more of the work to hold the ball and just keep it moving, and then Jones was trying to wait for Thiago to do the same thing. That's just kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, obviously, Jones is young. I think the biggest issue that he has, and you could kind of tell, like you said, when the substitution happened, and we'll get to that because I don't know if it was just the substitution or the fact that obviously we were a man up and stuff, but just hangs on to the ball way too long, almost like trying to make something happen when you do not have to. One thing that I've seen, I mean, I'm probably the biggest critic of Keita, and I always freaking hear about it, so I know I am.
Yeah.
But I feel like the last, I don't know, like 3-4 appearances he's had, it's been a lot better because I think if Keita comes in or Keita plays like Genie, where creativity is just a bonus, do the hard work, play the simple ball, move the ball, and, like create the space, constant movements, everything flows. When he gets the ball and he feels like he has to create something, I need to thread this ball in, stuff like that, or let me get past somebody, I think that's when we run into problems. I think Thiago knows when to pick those spots, like when to just roll the ball back, when to just suddenly drop the shoulder and like go and stuff like that. And I think that's unpredictable way he plays makes him hard to cover. And I don't want to just put it on the midfield because we will get to the front line. I think Bobby or Jota not being there, like the front three, we'll get to next because I want to bring the Delaware guys' input into that as well. That's part of it too. But I mean, it felt like that counter press never worked and they were constantly able to get out. And the problem, the way we play with that high line is if a team can get out and they have time on the ball, I don't care how good your back line is, that through ball is going to be there. These guys are like pros,
Before we leave the midfield, let me pose this question to you, Jamie. Do you think that Jones being either in the starting lineup and then maybe not even being in the squad altogether, not even in the subs, has affected that like decision of is he going to press or is he going to be that creative spark? As opposed to maybe coming off the bench and working his way into a game for 20, 30 minutes, on the off days he doesn't start.
I mean, you guys have made great couple of points there, Timucin, and you, Scott, as well. But I mean, it's a difficult one. Like Curtis has had one of those seasons anyway, like hasn't he? Like he did, he's had, for a large part, he's had a good 18 months like that. So I guess it's difficult for him too, like whether to know when to express yourself or when to know less is more. It's a bit hard, I would say, to know when less is more when you've got a player like Thiago beside you that just makes everything look easy. Makes everything look simplistic and quick-headed, and his brain is in his feet. The man was born with a ball at his feet. So yes, you're going to get a lot of that knowledge on the training pitch, watching him and playing alongside him and doing all that. But, executing it on the main stage is a completely different animal. So Jones is, I think he's just going to be one of them. I'm not going to say he's a grafter, Hendo had a hard start to his tenure at Liverpool, but I don't necessarily see that for Curtis. I'm just saying he's going to have to work hard, It just doesn't come to everyone the way it does to Harvey Elliott and Thiago and things like that.
Yeah. I think to your point, Scott, I mean, obviously that's probably makes it tough on him. I hope he doesn't feel like because he gets the chance, now he has to kind of like really show how good he is just to kind of earn that spot. Because, I mean, he knows now the order kind of has shifted. And when everybody is healthy, obviously the opportunity is going to be less. I just hope he doesn't see it because I think that's what was the problem with Keita in the past. And the problem I had is when he got the opportunity, it almost looked like he felt like, all right, this is the opportunity. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. But no, just play your game. And, with your quality, it's going to come through anyway. And I think, we always talk about, and we always like joke about, Ox getting a run of games and stuff. But I think for a player like Keita, that's why getting run of games is beneficial, even if it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Then you don't get that feeling of, oh my God, today is the day I got to show it. Whereas, you get your opportunities constantly to show your quality.
Where I think the difference between Curtis and Keita is very much an in-form player, an emotional player. Like you can tell he's inward, he's not an extrovert. He's kind of like Kante, you know what I mean? If we're making comparisons, he's the shy little guy, diminutive. Whereas Curtis hasn't got a problem with confidence. It's applying that. But yeah, I mean, it was almost a couple of compliments there for Keita from you, Timucin. That's definitely got to be jotted down somewhere.
Write that down. Somebody write it down.
Let's change the freaking subject. Hold on. Let's change the subject real quick.
Before we do, I made a quick joke last week where I was like, maybe, and everybody shut me down immediately. Like, don't put that out into the universe. But here I go again. Jones is
way to listen to them.
Yeah. Jones's proximity to people like Naby and Thiago, it's a hard pill to swallow, like to be that good. So I think he's going to get there. It's just going to take him a while.
Yep.
So let's listen into the Delaware guys real quick, because they're going to address the front three, specifically Mane. And then I want to kind of like get your guys' take on that, because I don't know if I agree as much, but let's listen to these guys first.
Hello, American Scouser fans. I'm Sean O'Neill from the Delaware chapter of the Liverpool Supporters Club. I live in northern Delaware. It's the far northern part of the state. And I'm here with Daz from Baltimore, who used to be the president of the Baltimore club, and he's since semi-retired. But we wanted Paul to join us today, but he couldn't make it. He had too much Chardonnay tonight. Anyway, we're going to talk about, we wanted a fun topic tonight. So we're going to talk about, Mane's been playing a lot in the 9 lately, which, is kind of an interesting tactical switch. We don't know, how permanent that might be, but it's an interesting one. What do you think about it, Daz?
I love him there. I could do without him losing the ball with his back to goal but having said that, Bobby does it fairly frequently too. I think his pace and his guile give defenders something else to think about that Bobby doesn't. But I like what he's doing there, and he's popped a couple in. He's missed a few, but I think that it's a good short-term solution to a shortish-term problem, and he stepped up. I think kudos to the boys and kudos to him. I think that they're doing a great job. I think he's doing a great job up top. Again, he's not as cultured as Bobby. However, he has other attributes that are well suited to kind of quote unquote that false 9.
Yeah, I mean, I find it really interesting. I love the idea of it, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adjust. But if you think about all the things that he's good at, he's very good in the air. He's actually good with his back to goal, although the control, hasn't always been there these last couple of games when he's played up there. I see that as more of adjusting to the position. I hope that's what it is. But we all know all the things that he's great at. And, I think it would be great if we could find kind of a new home for him up there, allow him to rotate in there and, hopefully bang in, a lot more goals. And, he just, like you said, the kind of the back to goal defender on his back, kind of controlling the ball. Not everybody's gonna be able to do it like Bobby, but, I think it's interesting now that we have Diaz on the one side, Mo on the other. We got Jota that can kind of pop in there. We still have Bobby, I think it's kind of an exciting, it's a different look we can give people. And it's pretty dangerous. So, I think that's our thoughts on the issue. Anything else you want to add?
Up the Reds.
Up the Reds. Yeah. So back to you, Timucin, and American Scousers.
Thanks, Sean. We got to figure out where Sean lives. He must be really freaking north. Like, I almost envision him like living next to the "You're leaving Delaware" sign or something like that. Like, or something after that. But so what do you guys make of that? Because I mean, let me have you guys take your take first. Jamie, let's go with you. What do you think about Mane in that? I mean, 9 spots or the Bobby location?
So I am going to answer, but first I'm going to divulge a little information. Paul Bickler and I were able to hang out and watch the game a couple weeks back, and
I'm
yeah,
amazed.
we were talking about
the news, by the way, but go ahead.
we both made it out alive. Paul probably the luckier than I was. No, it was a great time. Always good to hang out with me. He's a legend, as Paul. But yeah, we were talking about that a little bit as well, and how Diaz is now brought into that conversation as well, and even Jota, and basically, you know, we've made a lot of headway since the days of where the name being touted for that position was kind of Divock, or maybe somebody else was going to play middle and he was out left. You know, like that was our fourth option. Now it's just brilliant. You know, you've got Mane warming to the idea of playing central mid, kind of taking on that leadership role that he kind of brought with him since the AFCON, which while we're on Sadio, I kind of think all this bullshit talk about how he's not enjoying football and blah, blah, blah. What I think it is happening is he's took that winner's mentality from the AFCON and everything's inward for Sadio. Like Sadio is going to celebrate at the end of the season. You know, yes, he's going to smile at goals. He's not smiling at goals, but I think he's really got the bit between his teeth now. And I do like the fact that he's being groomed into that central role. But likewise, Diaz could be groomed into that as well. You know, Klopp can mold a player into anything. I genuinely believe that, and he's shown that in the past. But I think he could work magic with somebody in there. Maybe not necessarily Mane, possibly Jota, possibly Diaz. I just think the options are fantastic, whereas a couple of years ago, we didn't have any.
How about you, Scott? You like him in the middle there? Or, I mean, obviously I would assume I guess we're assuming it's mostly out of need right now, you know, while Bobby's out and, you know, Jota is just coming back. But like, would you like to see it long term? I guess let me answer that way.
It's a great problem to have, like Jamie said, right? You know, to be able to have kind of this conversation about who we think is best, and now a very fluid front three that players can play multiple positions throughout. You know, just a few years ago, we saw Salah through the middle predominantly for an entire season, almost 2/3 of a season. And then the season before that, or 2 seasons before that, Mane was out right. So he's now had experience playing across the front three. I personally think that Mane's best attribute is being able to run into space or at speed towards a defender and be able to accelerate and decelerate to really get defenders off. I don't think he's able to get in those sort of positions as much or as often from the center. I think that when he's out left, especially with that great combination and great, you know, chemistry he has with Robo on the left side, I do think that we're not necessarily losing something with having Mane in the middle, but we gain so much with him having that space out on the left.
See, a few things to touch up on there. I agree to the point where, and that this is why I do not like Mane in the middle. Dave Leslie says Bobby do Bobby things, but Mane has been good in that position. And I think he has definitely gotten a lot better from the first time he played in that position. But I would argue that if we did not sign Diaz, Mane is not the guy in the middle out of need. I think we go back to Mo being the middle. And I think it's exactly for what you said, Scott, is, I mean, like that's saying, you know, in terms of like his control, I mean, that's not getting used to the position. That's always been like that. I mean, I don't know if it's a Brazilian thing or whatever, but you look at how certain players, even Mo has this as well, the way Mo brings the ball down, the way Thiago or the way Bobby brings the ball down and controls it in tight spaces is so much different than Mane. What makes Mane dangerous is when he gets that ball on the left-hand side, even if he can't control it right away, he's so freaking unpredictable. He's so fast and agile. You don't know if he's gonna keep going down the right, like down the wing really fast, or he's gonna suddenly cut in. And with that, you kind of like one eye is on Robo to see if he's gonna come down that wing. So it's kind of like makes him harder to defend. I almost feel like he's a bit easier to defend in that middle because he gets that ball. I mean, how many times did we see him get that ball, not being able to control it all the way, and almost come back to the midfield with it?
Yeah.
Not by design, not like Bobby coming back to midfield to create space, but more like just to get a hold of the ball properly and like pass it on to somebody. And I think if it wasn't for Diaz, and especially how he kind of came onto the scene, I really still think we see Mo over there just because he can do a lot more in a tight area than Mane can. I mean, I think they're both just as dangerous outside on the wing with their speed and cutting in and stuff, but I think Mo is a lot better in a tight space. So let's go back to the game real quick. And so I guess my biggest frustration with the game was we did have our chances, but the first half was not really that impressive, like I say, midfield-wise, as Klopp admitted afterwards. And then we started the second half the same way. And it was screaming that we were not controlling that midfield, but we did not make a change. Is that just Klopp being stubborn, or is that just, we know, I mean, partially stubbornness, partially that's how he builds confidence in players by trusting the people he has out there and stuff. But what do you make of that, Scott? Because it felt like those substitutions came a tad late.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the lack of that possession and midfield control was glaring for us fans to see. I think that in a game where maybe fouls are not fouls and, the ref is unpredictable, I don't think having someone like both Thiago or Jones, actually either of them, who are prone to making the maybe not necessarily a bad tackle, but contentious tackles, I think was maybe not the best decision. Hindsight's 2020. Obviously, they're incredible players. We love their output going forward, but in a game against a pretty strong Italian team, and they played well. They definitely were on their game. We definitely needed some control, and we needed a little bit of more impetus and strength in that midfield that we see from our other midfield options more so than maybe Jones.
How about you? I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to exactly judge what those substitutions did because we had the goal and then we had Alexis Sanchez this time get a red card, which I thought the one in the first half would have been looked at. When I saw that tackle, and it reminded me of like previous tackles we've seen that's been reviewed and would have been red. How it wasn't even like that well reviewed, or I don't know, the Champions League does a slightly different, than things go a lot faster than the Premier League, but I was shocked to see that. But then he gets the red, then we get the substitution. But Jamie, I felt like if those substitutions came earlier, we would have seen the change in the game regardless of if they had 10 or 11. Do you agree, or do you see it a different way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, but like you said earlier, like we had our chances. First half, there was a couple of chances there. Matip header that he kind of just stood there and glanced it in off the top post. I mean, the lad's box office.
I love that man.
But Virgil had his own header, that got deflected out. We had a few set piece chances. Midfield, you're absolutely spot on. First half, disjointed, lacking that cutting edge, lacking that final pass. So set pieces were possibly a good way. But yeah, I mean, changes were going to come. But yeah, come back to me when we were talking about the Martinez goal, because I'm fuming at the defending there. Absolutely ridiculous.
So I was reading about that online, by the way, that some people putting it on Van Dijk, some people are putting it on Matip. Obviously, Matip is not the one that was like clearing it right, but I think the Van Dijk criticism comes from going across the field with a bad pass to Matip, making him run towards that. But I mean, obviously, you could have easily cleared it. I don't know. It's kind of like hard to put blame on that one. It's one of those that it's kind of goal that we score, right? Like we win the ball up top there.
But we just went to sleep. That's my big thing. We just went to sleep. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blame anyone. I'm just like, even Alisson, they're all involved. The whole team was like, we just went off. Like there was a complete lapse.
So
yeah.
Talking about falling asleep, though, and I think that's why. So Sparky Parky, a little bit earlier, he was asking if does Henderson know know he's not in the best 11. I do not think that is true. I mean, to me, he's definitely in the best 11 in that midfield. And I mean, I don't know Klopp. I'll call him later and ask him, I guess. But I feel like he would like. I think to him, he values what Hendo does in there as well. And I think not only, I know he has not been in form with the injury and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the best Hendo we're seeing. Sure. But some of the things Hendo does over there in terms of how fast the ball moves when he's on the field, how much barking and directing he does on the field is priceless. I mean, to me,
that's the biggest thing with him. Yeah. I mean, Henderson being on the field isn't just his work output, his ability on the ball, his, defensive nuances. Henderson being on the field is what everyone else does for him, right?
Bingo.
So when he's on the pitch, he's yelling orders, move the ball faster, go over there, do this, bring it out, switch the field. Trent may have the ball and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, look, Andy. And it's just small stuff like that we see that we don't see Henderson doing anything, right? It's not Henderson. Trent made a great ball across, but he's the conductor. I mean, he is the manager on the field.
And that's why I
think.
Go ahead.
I do think Sparky asks a good question, right? I mean, but let me answer it as frank as I can. I think he does know that he's not in the best 11. I think Hendo will be the first to tell you he's not the first on the team sheet. I think he's the first to tell you he's not the first on the team sheet in the midfield. He knows Fabinho's a better midfielder. But what Hendo does, whether he's on the pitch or not, is lead the team's morale. He is the leader. And I think, Sparky's getting that, he is entering a latter stage in his career. And, I'm not going to liken him to Stevie G's latter part of his years, but I don't think Hendo's, I think, no.
Yeah, BJ says Hendo has the Xbox controller in his hand while on the field. I mean, the way he directs traffic, I think makes a big difference. See, I disagree. I think he is the second person I put in that midfield after Fab. And then you can probably Thiago would be the third. And then, if Thiago is not available, then we can have a conversation of, Keita or Elliott or somebody. Depends on who we're playing against. But I think if we have a big game tomorrow, whether it's the final or, like in the Champions League, whatever it is, if healthy and if everybody's equally rested, to me, Hendo is definitely in that 11.
I
agree. He's not the first one on the sheet. And he's probably not the first one in midfield.
No, I definitely agree with you. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is I don't think Hendo gives a shit if he's in the best 11 or not.
I agree.
I think he's off the mindset, what's good for the team, what's good for the goose, for the gander. If I'm on the bench, I don't care. If I'm playing right back, I don't care. He's got that Millie-esque vibe where it's just like, the greater good.
So obviously, I mean, we had chances too. Mo hit the post twice. It was not one of his days. I mean, normally that hits the post, goes in, or he just nails the corner. And they were both, especially the second one was very well taken. It's just unlucky. And like you're saying, set pieces and stuff. We could have scored, put the game away earlier, but it was a lot more stressful than I would like it to be. And at the end, I mean, the last 10 minutes felt like, I do that sometimes, I admit, on FIFA. If the guy was showing off earlier in the game, if I have a lead, then I just mess with him. Jamie knows. And then just basically keeping the ball and making them run. They would want to press. Then
I'm already at 10% stamina. And Timucin's fucking ticky-tacky and around the back. I'm like, oh God, this is how controllers get broken.
Yep, that's right.
So, I mean, it was, at least we were smart enough and professional enough, and I think going back to with Hendo's leadership, that kind of helps on the field with him and Van Dijk kind of directing that traffic of how the ball goes. And I thought the players we had on the field were a lot smarter in terms of how they handled the ball. And even like Keita and stuff, like I say, another Keita compliment. I'm on a roll today. Like, there were times where I was afraid he was going to try to thread the ball in or attack, and he was smart enough to kind of pull it back, rotate it again, because, we were just seeing the game through. So we do see the game through. I mean, real quick, Jamie, do you think having a loss at Anfield, does it almost help us in a way? Does it hurt us in a way? Or really, these guys are not going to give a shit?
We could have handpicked the game to lose. That would have been it. 1-0. Take it all day of the week. End off.
Yeah. So you don't think it's going to matter at all to these guys? Is it a plus, minus, neutral?
It's a plus. I'll take that. I'll take that loss. Okay. And every single one of those players should take that loss on the chin. And that's exactly what they're going to do, because they're not going to sit back. They're not going to sit in their haunches and be like, oh, boo, we lost 1-0. Oh, no, we didn't score. Martinez made a fool out of us. We were all sleeping. Chalk it off. Done. Put a line under it. We're going to come back stronger. That's us. That's Liverpool. That's the Liverpool way. We're never going to stop. That's it. That's our springboard. Never mind Carabao Cup. We'll take that loss.
They need Jamie in the locker room to go ahead and give a motivational speech. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then Hendo absolutely slaps me in half.
I was gonna say, that is not gonna go well. that would not be a good. So, do you take it as a plus, minus, or a neutral there, Scott?
I think that obviously losing is never good. It's never fun, right? But the mentality of the squad being able to say, listen, this is something that we don't want to lose, right? And thank God the loss came from a situation where we're still in the Champions League. We got through the next round. So, yeah, that's right. BJ's mentioned to be a goldfish. Exactly. You take it. We did it. And then, in the words of Ted Lasso, after you're sad and after you're angry, be a goldfish. Move on. We're at the next game.
I agree. I think it would I think it's going to help us in a way. I felt the same way about West Ham. I felt like it would be one of those where when they talk about it after the game, they were like, hey, if we're not on our best, shit can go down and we can't afford to. So we got to keep the focus at all times. And it was a good way to still rotate and stuff like that, get people rest and all that in this kind of like a period where we had game. So let's go to the next game then. Brighton away. Saturday, crack of dawn, 6:30 for me. I feel bad for you if you're on the West Coast, but let's get a quick lineup and a score prediction from you, Jamie.
Well, I'll take another 1-0, lads. I really will. The gray hairs, I know I've said it over and over again. I'm getting older. I'll take all the gray hairs. Give me the 1-0.
I'll hook you up, bro. Well, whatever I
got a couple growing in. I got a couple.
I'll just happy to take hair. I don't care what color it is.
Same. I'm almost there, but you're not by design. Yours is by design. Mine is not.
Yeah.
So who do you? I guess like midfield, and we're expecting the same, or maybe Konate in the back, right? But who do you guys like? Who do you have in midfield and up top, Jamie?
Well, you kind of said Thiago, you were expecting him to be rested. A lot of people are talking about Mo being rested. I mean, that's a possibility. We could go absolutely mental and rest Mo. I don't see Klopp doing it, and I don't see Mo being happy about it. But the fact of the matter is, we could probably play around. Not to disrespect Brighton whatsoever, because they're going to put up a fight. Every team in the Premier League does. That's why we're lauded as one of the best leagues in Europe and therefore the world. But yeah, we could rotate. That's the embarrassment of riches we've got. You could bring an Ox in. You could bring, I don't know about the midfield three that started against Inter, but yeah, I mean, obviously Fab has got to play. But yeah, we could rotate.
I mean, with us not playing again until Wednesday against Arsenal, who's actually going to end up playing Sunday, I almost feel like we wouldn't need as much rotation. But how much do you expect out of this one, Scott?
I actually think that we go with a really strong lineup. And the reason that I say that is because we're coming off of a West Ham narrow win, and we're coming off of an advancement to the next round of the Champions League, but again, not our strongest performance. I think with Brighton's current form, that they've been showing in the last month. They're not what they were in the beginning of the season. I think fatigue's definitely caught up on a rather smaller squad. I think that we do go with a strong lineup, and I expect at least back to somewhat normal expectation of what we think the boys can do.
I agree. I expect this. Just because, like I said, because of how the schedule lines up, I feel like we will throw a strong lineup out there. Jamie, score prediction.
Yeah, 1-0. I'll take it all day, every day.
What the heck is wrong with you trying to kill me over here? It's been a rough week, man.
Listen, I'm
Neymar going out, it's been a rough week.
I'm rationing those Stitch treats. That's what I'm doing. I'm rationing them. I'm pushing them out, right?
Yeah, he's not too happy either. For West Ham was 1-0. Not even a freaking snack all day. On Tuesday, I mean. But Scott, what do you have?
Hey, we're going with a big 4-0 over here. Okay, we're getting back to our form. We're hitting it hard. And let me add, Salah, he's not getting rested. He's hitting a hat trick, and he's getting my captain on fantasy again.
Don't even get started with fantasy over here. But, yeah, I don't know. I'll take 4-0 any day, to be honest with you. But I almost feel like a 2-0 win is what I'm going for. Hopefully we'll get the goals early so I can actually sit down. That would help. Like I say, it's been a rough week of watching Liverpool. I can use a little bit of a lean back here, but
I'm going to get my own back on the kids next door. They woke me up at 1 o'clock. I'm going to wake them up at 7 o'clock in the morning, screaming, "You'll never walk alone." They're going to wish.
Yes, who can play this game? Who can play this game? Yeah, the revenge of the old man in the next building. I wonder what they refer to you as.
What's the ordnance survey start from? I know when it finishes, but or the sound ordinance.
Hey, it's whenever you start making noise. First person awake. That's the time it starts.
We got a cop over here, so you know.
Yeah.
What is the earliest you get called for a noise ordinance? By the way, Scott.
Please. It doesn't matter the time. If it's middle of the day, we'll get noise complaints. Right. Yeah, it doesn't.
I think. By the way, just before we go, I think it's ridiculous. You know, even back in Ireland and England, the fact that these cops are paid to go for noise ordinance, it's absolutely ridiculous. Just do the old-fashioned thing like I did. Be an old man. Get grumpy. Throw on your slacks. Throw on your trousers. Go over there. Shout at them like an old man. That's what I did. It worked wonders.
Hey, I drive past. If I can't hear it with my windows up, I'm fine. Move on.
See, I did not know that was a thing. So now I know to turn it down as the cop is driving by. Not that. Here's the thing, though. Putting the pants on and running out there like the old man might work in North Carolina over there, but I'm telling you, in the certain Chicago suburbs, yeah, that's the last time you're putting pants on, buddy. Because they'll be waiting for you with guns. They're not going to take it.
You see, that's the idiot in me, right? I'm not an American, you know. I still don't recall the fact that everybody carries fucking guns right here. Meanwhile, you've got Joe Schmo here with absolutely barely a stitch on and shouting like a madman, like, "Hey, you damn kids, knock it off."
I'll tell you a story, like totally off topic over here, but talking about being a phoner and not understanding the concept of, how it works over here. I remember way back, like, I think we're talking way back. I'm like a senior in college or right out of college. We're actually downtown to eat with Angie, and we got lost because we're new to Chicago, and we need cash for something. I don't know why. I'm looking for an ATM. So middle of the night, I go into this gas station, shady as can be, by the way. Like, it couldn't be a more shady gas station. I go in there with like a bunch of guys that look like, like there was like a gang meeting or something. And I go in there and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys know where an ATM is?" It's almost like, "Can you guys follow me? Because I'm going to be taking some cash out." And you guys can rob me on the move over here. Yeah, so, it takes some time to get to you. Then I work downtown and stuff. And I was like, man, that was really crazy. But I'll be honest. When you act like you belong, nothing happens to you. When you go around scared, that's when they mess with you.
Yep.
What I've got going for me is that I just look like an escaped mental patient. Like that's my.
I know, dude. I had like a suit on and stuff too, and it was like literally. Gas station was jam packed for some reason too, And yeah, like
Always
everybody,
are.
like it was like one of those like in a cowboy scene, like the guy swings the bar doors open and walks in, everybody stops and looks around. It was like me with my suit on going to the gas station. Everybody's like, "Who is this idiot?" Well, gentlemen, that was like totally off topic, but good humor there. So thanks a lot to everybody listening, as always, sharing, liking. Today, for the first time, we were streaming on Twitter as well, and we're getting really high-end and nerdy. So soon we'll be actually on Twitch as well. Speaking of high-end, nerdy, and kind of young, which, you know, an old man you might know, we have actually a TikTok account as well, and posted one of our pot clips today. My very first video posted on TikTok. I could not be prouder. Felt young for it. It was good. Okay, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening. See you guys Monday.